On the next episode of the DragonShip, we're going to teach you how to spot a delusional woman. Well, step one, delusional women say things like, like this.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
We do need men, though. We do.
We don't need them.
I don't need a man. Make it happen. I get on being free. I don't need a man. Make me feel good. I get on doing my thing. I don't need a
Yeah. Sing your song. You don't need us, blah, blah, blah. We get it. We get that you think you don't. But then, for some reason, when shit hits the fan, when their life's in danger, who do they call? A man.
Where they lowered a firefighter to the woman to secure her and bring her to safety. Firefighter Brian Quinn had only one mission in mind, to make sure the woman didn't fall or jump in her panic.
So listen, fellas, just realize the next time you hear a woman say that they don't need no man, just realize that that's their delusion talking. So make sure you join us this Saturday while we discuss all the reasons why women will need a man and why women always look for a man when shit hits the fan.
Welcome to the DragonShip, Skull Brothers, you savages. We're going to have a great show for you today. We are the DragonShip. We are the rising tide that lifts all ships. And join us. And I'm going to bring up our crew today. We're going to talk about when the S hits the fan. Women do not need an emotional man. They need a man. Let me bring up my fellow shipmates and the crew of the DragonShip. Glenn Laurence, Phil Foster, Mark Daniels, Raith Deantior, Laurent from Tokyo, and of course, Randall out of Phoenix. Welcome, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Solid.
It's fantastic. Look at us stretching across the globe to have a discussion kind of on emotionalism and this modern theme that's going on right now, kind of a narrative that's rolling out there that you can see even in that modified music video, that I don't need a man. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. Maybe I want one, but I don't need one. It's been my experience. I actually had somebody write me as soon as that promo went out. Somebody from overseas, I'll say, that's experienced as a traveler. Laurent, this might relate to you being outside of basically Western society in some respects there in Tokyo. And the comment to me was pretty straightforward. It was not being in the US and being in second world countries and third world countries, and even some first world countries, just being out of that influence. He never, ever hears in the narrative, I don't need a man. It's just not something that's brought up. So I found that very interesting. And he used several countries as examples. It just doesn't come up in the social environment. So I find it really interesting that it's really prevalent in our society right now. And in the reality, like you said in the promo, women do need men. And even though they say they want emotional men, I mean, you can see all kinds of videos that are telling men, be vulnerable, be emotionally available, be that little boy so that she'll really, have sympathy for you. And that's how it should be. Reality is that men need women and women need men. And this dance we're going through right now is kind of contrived, and we need each other. But today we're just going to chop it up of why it's really delusional to say you don't need a man when our entire civilization has been built on men. And the economic engine that drives us building our society is the male sex drive. Essentially, we're problem solvers. I've said this before. Women don't take offense to this, but women essentially bring problems to men. And we solve those problems. And we're genetically bred. I saw you smiling there, Laurent, but women do bring problems to your life, even the best ones. I'm not saying that in a derogatory fashion. I'm saying it is a pleasure for us to be the useful chimp and solve those problems. It brings a lot of fulfillment to us. And that's just how it is. It is the problem of pleasure, shall we say. But let's get right into it. Glenn, you got some comments here because you know that women don't need a man, but they really mean something quite different. Let's get you.
Yes. So, women say that they don't need a man. They believe they really don't need a man. They think that, you know, just men are just trash. Like they're just discarded. I mean, I was in our podcast panel last night where like these women were like literally saying that like, you know, men are just, you know, big babies. You know, there's so much they have to do to take care of a man. There's like they're like children, and I'm sitting here thinking like, what are you talking about? Really, like, because everything that you have has been created by a man. Your dishwasher created by a man. You know, little things. We all say we don't need a man, but then you know what? We need men when men shit needs to happen. And look, I got 53 reasons. I found 53 reasons, Thor, an article that talks about 53 reasons why women need men.
Okay, before we get there, let's go ahead and get the opening thoughts on this from the rest of the panel members. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's roll with it. Phil Foster, obviously you're a man that many women need. Are you able to go?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good to go, man. How you gentlemen doing this morning?
Fucking living the dream, Phil Foster.
Fuck yeah, man. That's the only way to live, baby. So I 100% agree with Glenn. And I think that, you know, this world was created by men and it's going to be destroyed by men with pussy in the middle. That's my opening thoughts on this one.
Why does the pussy got to be in the middle? It just doesn't. You can't put it on the bottom.
Because that's where God put it, bro.
Just like
in the middle,
an Oreo, like an Oreo cookie.
The problem is I got this dang cold, man. I've been sick for a week, man. So I'm trying to like not speak too much.
Well, you get well, man. We need every one of you savage effing Vikings pulling on the oars at the same time. Whenever we shout out, what is your profession, right? Little 300 reference.
Yeah, it's like fitness, finances, and fucking. That's my profession right there.
Yeah. Is that fucking spelt with a PH?
Exactly.
Technical term, right? Mark Daniels, Mark's inspiration, sending you send inspirational notes all the time.
Try to.
You know, I don't really want this episode necessarily to be derogatory towards women. It's absolutely not. It's a beautiful thing that they need us because we need them. But you know, it's very apparent when the shit hits the fan. You know, we fall right back into our gender norms.
Exactly. Well, let's do something inspirational. The pendulum swings. It started swinging one way back in the 60s, and that's when all this women don't need a man started. So it's bound to start swinging back the other way pretty soon. I say this, and I've said it before, is men have created an illusion out of the love for women and children to where women feel like they don't need a man. And we know with women, it's all about feelings because we've made a society, at least in the Western world, so protected and safe that they actually believe that they don't need men. But like you say, until the shit hits the fan, then they're running and looking for a man. And even a man, what they call now toxic masculinity type man, because those are the only men that can handle these situations. Well, like the preamble with the fireman going up and getting the woman out of there, and many other situations like that. But in our safe society and comfortable, they actually feel like they don't need a man, but they just don't really. Most women don't get it, but we need women too. It's not only, you know, we need each other. Men without women, of course, humanity would not survive, and vice versa. So we need each other. And I don't think men will ever say they don't need women. We do need them. And it's obvious and logical that we think that. But women, on the other hand, want to believe. That's why I say it's an illusion or even a delusion on their parts. Not all women, of course.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry about that. I was doing my little cough button here. No worries about that. That's a good observation, Mark. Really appreciate that. Laurent from Tokyo. Do you bring a different perspective? What is that? Camera's reverse. What does that say?
I like it.
Glorious time, my life on the road. So it all originated here, basically. Back in the 60s and 70s. She was actually a CIA operative.
Yes, I do know that.
And she was sent in black churches during the civil rights movements. And for indoctrination, ladies were told, we don't need a man, we don't need a man, men are trash. And then this kind of stuff infected the general population over time. And this is the result of what happened in the 60s, 70s. And King Dre actually talks about it in the black community. He said, this is nothing new, that I don't need a man, men are trash. This is the air they've been breathing for a long time. I do believe that men and women function better together. I believe that men are hardwired to please their women. I mean, it brings us joy, it brings us satisfaction, it brings us like really masculine satisfaction to, let me help you. And I also believe that every woman is strong and independent until they have a flat tire.
Yeah, that's true. It does really bring masculine fulfillment to the surface, I think, for just about every man. I wish Paul from Apex Mindset was here. He's actually done a lot of, he has a lot of knowledge on this from his profession in the Army. For sure. It's that whole, we want to be useful chimp, women want to be good chimp sort of theory out there that really holds true with our biology. Randall, what's your opening comments on when the shit hits the fan? That's when women need a man.
Well, that's just a fact in life that women often that say a lot of things that it's like, oh, I don't need somebody. Yeah, that's because things are going good, things are peaceful. As soon as there's a little bit of stress or strife in your life, they start turning to look for people who have solutions. And the thing is, these women nowadays are pushing these men away. And so once it comes time for that man isn't there. So now they're going to actually have to pay a man to come and fix their problems. And so it's just when they talk about investing in certain companies and certain things later on in life, because the way these women are pushing us men, they're not going to be there for them for the majority of them.
Well, Randall, you know that the coming age is going to be known as the age of the spinster, and we will actually see, because of the delay in the birth rate and the sliding demographics of men not needing or women not needing men so much has delayed, the age of first birth. And, it's heavily promoted in our media. In fact, Elon Musk, one of the world's richest men and probably a first order genius in many respects, says that's his greatest fear is the falling demographic, which actually goes against this whole media Malthusian theory or this Malthus theory about population being overwhelming and crushing upon us. Now, it's kind of masquerading as in, climate change. Now it was global warming, but definitely that's a big component of it. And you see these women that are very lonely. And what is it? Buy the cat food stocks, right?
Cat food, the animal toys, and wine.
Yeah. Oh, look who joined us. That's Paul Bauer
Welcome,
from Paul Man
Paul.
Podcast.
What's
Welcome.
up? Who can we piss off today, guys?
Hey,
Well, we're
what's
gonna
up,
piss
Paul?
off all women because when the
we're not
shit
just
hits the
selecting
fan,
women now. We're just pissing off all women in a blanket.
yeah, we're not going to go specific, but
Okay.
but
Just checking.
I don't think we actually will, because when the shit hits the fan now, for the women that have been masculinized by the current narrative, and that's what it is, the ego protection that has been built into their convictions now states that I don't need a man at all. But that's not entirely true. For procreation of the species, they do, and at the lowest biological level, they do. And when things get really tense and tight, they absolutely do need a man. And what they don't need is the way we're training men now, which is emotional men that live and have been trained in emotionalism. That is not what they need, even though they're told that's what they want and that's the right thing. That's entirely not what they need when the chips are down. And we're talking about when the shit hits the fan, they really need a man to step in. And it's part of our biological nature to step in. In the intro, we talked about, or at least we showed a clip that we're allowed to show, just of people huddling and men throwing their bodies over women when, that horrible mass shooting took place in Las Vegas. Men that didn't even know the women they were standing next to. And this gets right down to that biological instinct that was mentioned earlier about a masculine fulfillment of his role. And that's to be, as Paul Benjamin would say, be useful chimp. And that's right to our core, not only to be useful to the women, but then also useful to the tribe. And in many respects, that's why we jump on these interwebs and do our speaking, is to be useful chimps again. Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So-
Why isn't that honored and respected and venerated? What you just said, Thor, about men putting their lives on the line for women and that they're willing to do it, even those strangers in that shooting you said.
It used to be venerated in a lot of ways, you know. That old character of it was mentioned on Rule Zero, the James T. Kirk, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's an interesting character that's really been kind of assassinated in all the modern iterations. And then Andrew Tate kind of fills that role for young men now as the ultimate masculine, you know, that kind of shows that he's passionate. I wouldn't say emotional, but his emotions can drive passions. Kind of like that character of James T. Kirk. It's very formulaic, but it's very attractive because it talks to, you know, the biology of men and how we want to behave socially. You know, Kirk could have that passion and that emotion, his counterbalance with Spock, but he was always able to use his rationality. And in some cases, actually a sex appeal of being masculine to arrive at this moral tale and arrive at a happy ending, essentially. And if you think about all that old Star Trek stuff, and even before when they had serialized entertainment that had strong masculine men, they always did those little morality tales, right? Where the man could be passionate and maybe even slightly emotional, but tempered with stoicism and rational thought as a masculine man that might have to make a very, very tough decision. And those guys were venerated, and they're still heroes. Those characters are heroes today and much needed. Oh, we have a super chat, gentlemen, from one of our dear friends. And
Alpha Kingdom.
I need to put this on air, and you get the war horn. So here we go, getting the war horn right now, Afi. Hey, if you want to come on. I'll drop the link, Afi, if you'd like to join into the chat. So, Mark, let's get on with the rest of the panel. Raith, what are your opening comments on this?
I think it's. I don't need a man as a cope so that they can espouse the narrative. It's just a cope for the narrative. The narrative is that they don't need men, and you know it went from back probably 10 years ago where I don't need a man, I want a man, to now it's just I don't need men. It's an extreme cope to, you know, to perpetuate their narrative. Now, what the question Mark asked, why isn't that thought of, you know, when men sacrifice for women, why isn't that, you know, exalted? It's because it doesn't fit the narrative. And that's exactly why. You know, I think it's honorable when people, you know, do things to sacrifice, you know, their personal safety and stuff to help other people. But, you know, if you're doing it, it just doesn't fit the narrative. Because men have to have that, I guess, traditional masculine understanding of themselves in order to do that.
Yeah.
They have to be willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And like I said, that ability of a man to sacrifice doesn't fit the narrative. Because weak men, they don't sacrifice.
Do you think it's a natural inclination of men, Raith, to do that? I feel like it is, but maybe it's because I've experienced it. But is that what percentage of men would you say naturally will protect women, even if it's not their mate?
I think most men will, you know, until you get into the current men we're growing today.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't think there's. I just think a lot of young men today lack a sense of honor, lack a sense of understanding of, you know, what integrity, honor, sacrifice, what all that means. It's just not there. They're not taught it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, they don't know. They're ignorant.
Oh, they certainly don't. They don't know just even, somebody defined that masculinity and what that would mean today. I bet we'd get different answers, really. You know, but in my day, it would be honor, strength, self-discipline, mastery, ownership, conquest, emotional regulation, so-called stoicism, right? Foresight, perspicacity, as known today, right? Leadership and respect. But that's just to name a few.
Right.
Now you guys know what the P and RP stands for. So,
and well, one of the main reasons why we're here is so people can have an opportunity to learn some of these things.
Right. Right. For sure. I'm just going to bring up Danny's comment. Skull, Brother Viking. Bill Shatner was cool. Or was masculine and cool. He's what you would call man sexy today. I'll say a word about William Shatner. I don't know him. I know of him, and I've actually shook his hand. Many years ago, I went to a fundraiser, and here's this guy in his late 60s playing paintball with Mancow Muller, who was a radio host at the time. And I was one of the participants of, I think, 1,000 people. I don't know if you remember what paintball was, but guys would go out with these simulated guns that would shoot balls of paint and play at war, essentially. And then there was music and feasting. All of this was a real solid kind of, it was open to women too, but it was primarily a very masculine thing to do. And they were raising money for Bill's charity, and it was videoed and all that. And I was lucky enough to be a participant. I got to do a lot of cool things. So in person though, to watch him, it's exactly what he says. This guy is a masculine dude. And you could see him in interviews today. He's no bullshit dude. And I think he's close to 90 right now. So, hats off. That's the kind of life I want to live for sure. And he'd be a guy that's definitely needed. Not to mention the character he played. The guy really is James Kirk, in my opinion.
You know what's funny about this whole narrative, like we don't need men, nonsense, right? Is the fact that like it's so ridiculous, and this is why I call it a delusion in the them being delusional in the promo, is that everything that we have, from the technology to our vehicles to our housings, they were all created by men. And so when you get rid of a world without men, you have no infrastructure. Okay?
That is true.
You don't have anybody, you have nobody doing the power lines. You don't have guys like Thor going out there, make sure your internet's on, and you have power to your internet so you can do your OnlyFans. Well, you wouldn't have OnlyFans. Why? Because there's no men to watch you. Like
there's fewer and fewer men that are willing to do what Thor did, though. And they're all out. True. They're all watching OnlyFans and giving out $500 super chats.
I will agree with that, but I have to preface it too. There is actually a small group of men that want to get in industry so bad, and we can't feed that pipeline fast enough. To be honest with you, there is going to be infrastructure problems. I can get that later, but you're right. As far as infrastructure for civilization, design, build, maintenance is kind of really, when it comes to the actual construction, building of the tools, all of that is really kind of run by men. And where the rubber hits the road, that's where you'll find men in that very dangerous and hard place where they have to suck it up. Anyway,
hey, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
I got a quick question for you, Thor. In my industry, they're seeing a lot of robotics happen right now in the construction trades. I'm just being real. I mean, there's robots now that are like programmable to sheetrock, frame. I mean, they're slowly integrating those and developing that technology. And my question to you is, in your industry, in the electrical field and the infrastructure for electricity, will that ever be a thing like it is for my industry?
Of course, there's automation.
No, what I mean by that is like will there ever be just like robotic linemen? Do you think that they'll have it to that point ever? Based on what your experience is. I mean, dude, you fly helicopters and jump on power lines. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, you've pretty much seen and done it all. I mean,
the infrastructure is extremely heavy, extremely hard, and it requires a level of flexibility now that robotics can't really reach.
Yeah.
There are certain aspects of it that we can use. We can use drones to look at things.
You guys use drones to like burn trash off the lines. I saw that.
Yeah,
once I started messing with you.
Yeah, drones and helicopters. Those are all good automation tools. But when it comes to the guy that climbs that pole or that tower and reaches out with that stick to ground the line or to bring the line back on or to do rigging, those sort of things, or the modern design of the infrastructure, I'm not sure AI can help, but it's really going to require more, in many cases, more than one man to protect it and make sure that it's, number one, secure, it can handle future load growth. It's got to take some planning 3D dimensional skills. There's a lot of automation that can help, but when it actually comes down to it, these people are going to be required. And there's opportunities for women on that side but not as much as you think when it comes to actually, hanging on the skid of the helicopter. Not much I want to do that. It is hard and it's paid really well and it's very dangerous. It seems like in the dangerous things, women just tend to naturally shy away from it because it's danger. They don't want to get eaten by the lion. And where we play is we hunt the lions.
Well,
Yeah, I was
they
saying-
also have
go ahead.
where they also have like with trucking. It's a primarily male-focused genre, like industry. That's not going to be replaced by AI because our electric vehicles have shit for range. So until they can figure that solution out, and then also just trying to haul this stuff, you're still going to need people at key points to load things up because, hell, how much time does our technology, just our everyday technology, go on the fritz and we have to sit here and troubleshoot it? Now imagine that for a truck that's driving 100 miles across the country. They're going to have to send somebody out to track that truck down to figure it the fuck out. So it's like, as much as AI's coming out, I honestly don't think it's going to be as much of a threat as people say it's going to be.
It's funny though, like, and I hate to go biblical. Well, first I want to salute to Mr. Afi Kingdom, my brother from the mother. I see him in there. Oh, he's gone now.
Oh no, we lost the connect. He'll come back.
But here's the thing, like, and I hate to do this, you guys, but this kind of all goes back to the Bible. I know you guys don't want me to do it all the time, but it's the Bible. Again, like it says clearly, and I'm gonna pull this up here so everybody can read. Like this is like from old time text. Okay, this is like old shit. Right here we go. It says right there clearly. This is like in the beginning. This is like Genesis stuff, right? And then he said to the woman, I shall sharpen the pain of your pregnancy, and in the pain you will give birth. And you will desire to control your husband, but he will rule over you. Okay, men, we are going to, this whole push, what they're trying to do is ridiculous. Like, we get it. Here's how they get us to buy into it, though. They get us to believe that they don't need us. They get us to believe that they could do it on their own. And they don't believe it themselves. They're trying to sell it to where we believe it. So they'll be like, oh, they don't need us, then we might as well just defer to what they want because we want them, right? We need them for sex. So we just gotta just defer to them and hope that they'll oblige us with some vagina. And that's not true. At the end of the day, they will always need us, and they will always be under male authority to some extent. It's at the end of the day. That's what it is.
As men, we're going to have to.
I do think some of them do believe it, though. You look at the girls between 18.
I agree.
Between 18 and 24, they really believe it.
I think so too, Raith. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they may have fooled the younger ones, but I think the older ones that started this narrative, they knew that it wasn't real. They knew that they were always going to need men. Yeah,
but like I said, I think as you know, and as we talk to young men, and experience teaches you something. All right. And if you're an 18-year-old to 24-year-old woman living at home with your parents, or just out of school, working in some job that's paying you probably way more money than you're worth, and I think that goes true for young men too. You don't have that experience. You haven't had that struggle. You haven't had that issues where you have to start reforming your belief system. All right. The belief system that you get when you come out of high school and college is the belief system you have until life teaches you something different.
Yeah.
And that's, I think when you go on and you watch like whatever the show, the YouTube channel, whatever, when you have these women sitting there saying, I don't need a man. I don't need a man. I don't need a man. They haven't experienced life. They're 18 to 22, 24 years old.
Yeah.
All right. And if nothing's taught me at 62, life has the ability to be cruel. It's not always roses.
Yeah. You don't have a policeman in your backyard or front door whenever you need him all the time.
Right.
Guys, I want to welcome my dearest nephew Offie Kingdom, and I want to ask him a question and bring him up to speed. Offie, where are you at? How are you doing?
What's up, Offie?
Can we hear you?
What's going
brother?
on, everybody? What's up, player?
Oh, nice.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can.
Oh, you can hear. Oh, you confused.
Yes, sir. Hey, where are you at
What's
right now?
going
You
on?
out traveling?
No, I'm actually just sitting on my floor about to roll a blunt.
Hey, let me ask you a question, man. Appreciate you jumping in the chat and giving me the super. Appreciate that much. We got a long history. My nephew there, and this guy's wise beyond his years. Offie, you have you probably got some insight here, because what we're talking about today is that women don't need a man, and they say they don't need a man, and when the shit hits the fan, they need men, and they don't need an emotional man. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, in the Black community, this seems to be very prevalent and very kind of a badge of honor to run around and show that I don't need a man. Has that been your experience? Because we're seeing it everywhere now, but correct me if I'm wrong. That's been in the community for a long time, right?
Yeah. Black girls are the worst. So take it from a black guy who fucked plenty of women, bro. Like, I fuck all the bullshit. Stick to your kind and all that shit. Black women are the worst. Mouthy. They're the worst. They give you the most pushback, most entitled, bro. And I got game.
Yeah.
So
why do you think
why they be eating some of these guys? Huh?
Why do you think that is?
Households, because most if you talk to 10 black women, for the most part, they was probably all raised from a single mom household, no father. And if the father was in the household, he was weak. You see what I'm saying? So people always look at like, oh man, woman households are better. Not really. Not if the husband is a pushover. You know what I mean? So there isn't that many masculine men. In the times that there are masculine men, it's almost in a toxic way. It's not in a good, positive way. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they're the worst. I like mixed girls, bro. Even the black ones I like, they be mixed and shit, bro.
Well, you know, that's really unfortunate. I think that the narrative from the 60s really encouraged that, you know, really put a lot of pressure out there to do that.
I always tell people though. I always tell people because people be saying, oh, it ain't like, trust me, I don't just it's for real. Like, I don't be lying, but it's definitely for real in the community and stuff. Like, but this is the problem as far as like the topic is. See now everything's sped up. So women really don't need a man, right? Financially. So they don't understand why they're getting these new bags, why they're getting to the bag, buying these houses, getting these red bottoms, doing OnlyFans, making all this money. But guess what? These bitches are not happy still. And they don't know why, because they're doing this shit without the leadership from a man, without the compassion from the man. You see, when a real submissive woman gets a lot out of listening to her dude. You see, a submissive woman likes to do tasks for the man. Like, they enjoy it. It's like a kid. It's like you send a kid out, right? You send a kid out for an explorer hunt, right? Go explore. I want you to find me 10 rubies and 10 baseball cards. They come back. Look, Poppy, I found it. See, that's how you're supposed to have a woman, bro. And these women, they're doing these things. They're independent. They're taking care of themselves, but mentally they're not. But they're not. Their ego is too high to figure out the answer why. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? For instance, like I seen this meme. I think I seen it from King Dre. It was an Indian girl, and she was basically submissive, saying, I listen to my man, I do whatever he says, this, and that. Check the comments. Oh, sound like slavery to me. Yeah, but I guess y'all ain't got no man either. So y'all talking shit. She got the husband, you don't. So what's the real fucking thing? Do you want the ring, or you want the pride and to be by your goddamn self?
You know,
you gotta understand women. What do you want? What's more important?
Avi, you know what's funny? I was in the
panel
show last night, and they were talking like,
did you get them tickets then or not?
I did. Did
you get them tickets?
I did.
Cool. No, cool. I hear you. I got you. I got something warmed up for that day too. I'm gonna put you on.
All right, cool. I can't wait. The 21st is gonna be lit.
Go ahead, bro.
So, but like, here's the funny thing is that like, me and Rollo been going back and forth like in chat, and I was talking to him about like submission and stuff like that, and he's like, we need to get away from the word submission, and he says, we need to stop using the word submission. It's a connotation is accepting servitude to men. We need to use the word deference to a male authority or men's authority, and shout out to Rollo because like I love him dropping wisdom and nuggets on me all the time. Like he always like he's been sending me articles from Del Rock because like I have that faith-based background, and like some of the stuff in there is just mind-blowing that people think about sometimes. But it's like, no, we need to stop saying submission. We need to give them the reason. We need to give them a reason to want to defer authority to men. We need to stop this whole bitch. You need to be submissive to me, right? You bow down, get on your knees, worship my feet. Like we need to get away from that and look. Here's the reason. What I love how Phil Foster did it. He did it one time, and Coco called it out. She told me about it. It was one of the times we did a live stream. I think it was on my old Thirsty Thursday episodes where we're talking about like when men are dealing with problems, and a woman wants to get know what's going on, and like you don't have to tell your woman everything. And Phil Foster chimed in the chat, and he's like, what? All you got to say is like, look, baby girl, I'm just handling some man shit. Don't worry, everything will be okay. In this Phil Foster voice. And it's like that right there, that type of, authority, like, look, he can just defer. She doesn't have to worry or stress out about whatever he's dealing with because she knows that he has it under control. And it's that willingness to want to get them to want to defer that authority, not demanding that authority, but it's their choice to defer the authority to him because they don't have to worry about things. That's what we have to work getting to, with, or at least talking about with these, our conversations.
Absolutely.
One thing I want to say about a lot of this stuff too is we're never going to convince women to change their mind about it. What we can do though is convince men to learn how to set the tone and take a lead in relationships, and then act locally, right? Like handle your own relationship, show her that you are the leader in the relationship. And because a lot of women just, they don't realize it until they see it. But once they see it, a lot of them will relax into their femininity, their feminine energy, if you want to get all woo woo with it, but they'll relax into their feminine when they find a guy that's a good leader. The problem is there's just not a lot of good leaders out there. And a lot of men aren't taught to lead relationships anymore.
Well, men haven't seen a woman that does fall into that feminine fulfillment that she actually receives. That's not very glorified these days. And I could see kind of the blank stare of no understanding when a woman that knows this is explaining it to one of the gals that's all about, I don't need a man for nothing. I got my own bag, I'm boss babe. I do all these things. It's almost like she's convicted so much and can't see the level of fulfillment that some of these gals have. Some of them actually have disdain for a woman that has chosen that path in life early on.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not just women either. I just put out a Instagram reel about this, but over Christmas, I was over at my parents' house. And my girlfriend was, bringing me drinks and serving me snacks. And she was also asking, my brother and my dad if they wanted stuff. And my dad and my brother are like, no, like, what are you doing? And then my mom was like, Paul, you got to tell her to stop doing that. She's making me look bad. It's like, it's society as a whole thinks that women serving their men is somehow like this bad thing now. My girl loves doing it. I don't have to make her do anything. She just does it.
Absolutely. And it's like, because I know like my girl loves the same way. Like she takes pride in cooking for me. Like, her cooking for me is like, one, her food's amazing. Two, it's like, it's a sense of joy knowing for her that like, the food that she makes is so delicious that I don't want to go out to eat. I can't wait for her to cook something. I get happy when I know that she's making something for dinner or for lunch or whatever the case is. It's like they get a sense of fulfillment in knowing that like that they don't have to do much to be acknowledged and loved and appreciated. They just got to take care of you. And
I was going to just to piggyback on that. A lot of us guys too were raised to not let women do that sort of thing. Like a lot of women naturally want to serve their men, but we're all taught to like, oh no, honey, I got it. Let me cook for you tonight. Let me do this. And it's like, if you just let them, just sit back and let them, it's an amazing feeling because they will absolutely do it. Like women get like you said, a lot of fulfillment out of serving their men, but men these days are taught to go above and beyond as far as like serving their woman, and women actually don't get as much fulfillment out of that sort of thing. It doesn't work the other way around.
Well, they don't realize either that they a lot of them look at it like they're submitting or they're subservient. I was at my son's gender reveal party and there was a lot of people there, and I was thinking about getting my plate, and his girlfriend said, "Hey, you want me to get your plate for you?" I said, "Sure." Now see, that made a hell of an impression on me. And I respect her a lot. That's where women think a lot of times if they do that, they're somehow less than, or they're not being equal to the man, that the man looks down on them if they do that. But I actually have more respect for her that she offered to do that.
Oh yeah, I 100% appreciate my girl doing that. I don't take it for granted.
Exactly. You know? Too many times they think it's going to be a downside. So that's like everything is backwards from what it used to be. The women don't realize that by doing things for men, even if it's not their man, that men actually appreciate that and respect that and hold them in higher honor than the one that says, "Get your coffee yourself."
Yeah, your leg's not broke.
Yeah. I'm not your servant. But what's it say? Okay, here's one for Glenn. Whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant. There you go.
Nice. Let's get back on track. Glenn, we have a list, and I want to hear from Laurent. Had a story to tell us before the show. We want to hear Laurent's story. You want to hear Laurent? Are you ready to tell us your story on this take about women need men?
Oh,
personal story that we talked about before we went on. I'd like to hear from you.
Oh, the idea that it was interesting. Like, there's a war in Ukraine, right? Yes. So I'm an investor in a company about that does trading access to different platforms. And what was interesting is when the war broke out in Ukraine, guys were drafted in, and women were free to roam. So my friend over there, his lead programmer is actually fighting in the trenches in Ukraine. Meanwhile, some female programmers are on Tinder in Stockholm and Helsinki. So yeah, a bit of we need men. And also to come back on the idea that civilization has been built by men. It's very simple. The simple reason why you have an iPhone today is because sometime, a dude wanted to get laid. There was a horny dude somewhere, and this is where we have progress. Aristotle Onassis, the husband of Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy, used to say, if it wasn't for women, men would have invented television so far, and there would be zero progress. We would have stopped at. We would have stalled at football. Guys are horny. Guys will build a civilization to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's some sort of drive in us that we want to make our women very comfortable so they can be fulfilled. The dishwasher, the washing machine. I mean, washing clothes is kind of an ordeal if you don't have a washing machine. You want to get your clothes clean.
When I lived in Latin America, you should watch the women washing their clothes on a peeler. They get up in the morning at 6 o'clock. They're washing clothes until about noon, and then hanging them up.
Wait, what is that they're washing on? It's called
a peeler. It's like you remember the old grids that we had up here long ago?
Yeah.
The metal. Okay. It's like that, except it's a basin, and it has that ribbed part of it. And they scrub the clothes on that. And then, of course, they wring them, and then they hang them up.
And wring them by hand.
Yeah, that one would work. And now when I lived up in the mountains, up at Lake Panachel, we actually went to the lake and washed our clothes on a rock, as well as everybody else did too, because we were at a place where there was no washing machines or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we how soon are we to forget those conveniences? I mean, stuff like that is pretty amazing because, you know, you don't want to throw clothes away, but they get pretty ripe, and to get them done actually takes some agitation to knock the grease and the dirt out of there. And then, you know, there's a whole process if you want to clean it and actually make it look good so that you look good and presentable, you know?
Right. I remember the days of the ringer washer. I don't know if any of you guys remember those or not.
Oh yeah, that's where the term got your tit.
Yeah, tit in the ringer.
Right?
Yeah. This thing's pretty tough. You get your fingers in there. Yeah.
Oh man, I've seen them. Sure, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, so that's it's quite interesting. Yeah, so men wanted to free up some of that time because what'd you say, 6 to noon? You know, that's
if they had a large family of 4, 5, 6, 7 people, which was very common. And you'll find that more in the underdeveloped countries because they need the family. Because like down there, they don't have this security system for when people get old. The children take care of the parents when they get old down there. So they rely on their children to support them when they get older and they can't work. It's very common in countries like that.
For sure. And yeah, so some horny guy somewhere said, man, if I invent something here, you know, that 6 to noon will turn into more poon availability, right?
Just have a little more energy for me too.
Yeah, sure. Right. We're pretty dirty. Let's go ahead. Oh, Laurent, get back up there. I want to hear your story.
I mean, it's very simple. Men built the world to make women's life more comfortable, and in return, to thank them, they said we don't need a man. This is where we are now.
Yeah. Now, Laurent, you're well traveled. Across the world, there's got to be some places where women are very thankful that they still could acquire a man, even a man of average means. Is that still true?
Increasingly not so.
Why?
Well, because we're devalued. I mean, the Western thinking is invaded the world. Like if you look, for instance, at TV series, Homer Simpson is a goofball. A lot of guys are devalued, and companies have realized that actually, if they want to sell products, they market to women, but the way to market to women, the prime example is Gillette.
Yeah.
So men are devalued, and actually, I have a theory. I mean, I trade the markets. I have a theory that actually we've evolved. For instance, prime example, Japan. Japan was a multi-generational house back in the 50s and 60s. Then we moved to nuclear house, and now we're moving to 4 individuals. I mean, it's not as crude as the US, where mom is in the house with the kids and daddy is in the car. But basically, having 4 people is 4 lines of credit. It's better for capitalism. Mm-hmm. So splitting the nuclear family is easy to indoctrinate people. It's easier, and marketing campaigns are pretty much harmonized around the world. Like Pepsi does sell the same stuff over there that is in Africa that it would sell in Japan, or probably a bit different in the US and the UK. So the message is spreading, and capitalism doesn't want strong families.
Yeah, you know, I think that there is a trend, but since I am involved in the utility industry, I see a lot of construction, a lot of new family dwellings, and the big thing in the last 5 years along is they've been building structures here that are multifamily homes. Now that's a throwback in a lot of ways. Is that a function of our economy and how it's unaffordable right now, or what would be your best guess on something like that? Why would that become a popular thing to do again? So
I have a really funny story. Like, remember we did the plunder back in summer, and there was a lady who appeared on Kevin Samuels, and she was, I'm a PhD kind of thing, very boss, independent kind of lady. She said, I don't need a man. Fast forward 6 months down the road, I saw the same chick on 8 at the Table, which is also another popular entertainment show. She said, I'll check with anybody, provided that we can split the bill, and then they can buy me a gas full of tank. the idea there is inflation and again crisis, whether they're war, whether they're like economic crisis, they bring people together. People have to be together. We're better together
than apart. I like that. I think that there's a possibility that that's coming our way. And then as the spinster generation starts to mature, there might be a different message. And I'm very hopeful for the future, for sure. I think Paul is too hopeful for the future. What do you say, Paul?
Hoping for the future? I don't know. Hope's not a strategy, is it?
I mean, there's some brightness there.
There, you know, well, it's like I alluded to earlier. The way I look at all this stuff is like society as a whole, and it's even spreading into Eastern countries, right? It's so far gone. It would take such a massive effort to try to reverse what's already happened, right? So really, the only thing that we can do is worry about our individual relationships and stuff like that. And you know, if you're out in the dating market, you know, you need to really sit down. And one thing I tell guys to do too is like sit down and write out a list of things that you want in a woman, like qualities that you want. A lot of guys just sort of fall into relationships. Like relationships just happen to most people, not just men, but men. Like just a girl just gives them the slightest bit of interest, and they just go all in on her, right? But
yeah,
if you sit down and you write out like what you want, what you don't want, and really focus on the things that you want in a woman, like you'll start seeing these women out there that are a little more traditional, maybe a little more, at least, you know, submissive. I guess we're not supposed to use that anymore. I guess they defer to your authority a little bit better, right? You'll find these women out there, and then all you can do is just worry about yourself and your individual relationships. And, you know, eventually people will start seeing your relationship with other people. And that message, I think, might spread a little bit. I think that's the only way that we'll ever get past this nonsense that we're seeing.
Yeah, I do too. I agree with that completely. You know, let me just read a comment here. One of our good buddies, my long lost Viking son, Raduku, says, Laurent, M&M just released this week. Girls only packet of M&Ms. Nothing screams inclusivity like excluding 50% of your customers. It looks like they have an invasion of wokeness right there for sure. And I want to go ahead and I want to comment on another one of his that kind of relates to what Laurent said earlier. And that was, let me bring that back in. The media love to share TikTok videos of Ukrainian chicks in pristine military uniforms dancing in snow to inspire men to die in the ditch, though. So there is definitely a propaganda war, gentlemen, that's fought. It's fought in every war. And there is a lot of issues with people that were stuck in those war areas. And that's where, you know, a lot of people fled, and particularly the girls. There isn't girls dancing there and then taking the action unless there was no other choice. It just doesn't really happen that way. And then to get to this is a beautiful comment on exactly what we're talking about. Women in good relationships. Sheila, this is foster assist. I love to watch people's reaction. Now, keep in mind, foster assist is a beautifully fit woman and very much in that submissive, feminine, innocent role. She loves to watch people's reaction when she fills plate at functions. Men seem jealous and women look down. I'm going to challenge you on this. Men don't seem jealous. I think they seem highly respectful and in need. That's what I think. And men do respect this a lot. It shows the devotion. And I think that's where, you know, women want to say, oh, it's slavery and it's submission. I would like to change it, like he said, to devotion, and devotion equals fulfillment. That's what I'd like to change that terminology to.
And make sure you guys, you know, check out Foster Assist's TikTok, because she's out there triggering all these feminists and male feminists. Like, it's hilarious. Some of the shit that she posts, and these guys are going in there just going off. Like, it's funny. Phil, I'm telling you,
dude.
No one hates on these women more than other women. It's hilarious, because I have some female friends in the space that, you know, talk about men's rights stuff, you know, and just the hate they get from other women is just astronomical.
It's visceral, literally.
So, hey guys, are you guys ready for me to show you guys some reasons why like men are always like needed? You know,
Absolutely. And
Bring it on. Bring it on, Glenn.
Cool. All right, here we go, you guys. Trigger warning is in full effect.
Oh, should I use the sound effect or the trigger warning?
Yeah, let's prepare.
Yeah, exactly. Huh. Let's see if I could do that. Oh, I don't have a sound effect.
All right, you guys. You know, so here we go. One thing that men do, right, that women tend not to do so much is they don't tend to risk their lives and save people. This man right here in this video saved this woman from a subway attack. All right, and there's some footage to it. You know, this lady was like, this guy was trying to stab this lady on a subway, and some random stranger had no knowledge of this woman, didn't know this woman from Adam, gets involved, saves his life. How about the 85-year-old man who has difficulties walking, saves of 2 women from a burning car? Not no women. No, women were probably grabbing their cell phones out and recording it or calling 911. But no, this old man struggling walking smashes the window to help get these ladies out of a burning vehicle. How about the British diplomat who jumped in the water in the river to save a woman from drowning while others just stand there and filming? No relation to her. He's a diplomat, you know, he's there, you know, representing his country. But he didn't, his countrywoman wasn't the one jumping in the water drowning. No, someone else was.
Isn't that toxic masculinity, Jim?
Oh, that's toxic as shit. You gotta be careful.
Wait, that's triggering. Here's the warning.
Oh man.
You know, I have one that says, I'm triggered.
Yeah, I didn't get that one quick enough.
So this one, Navy SEAL rescues American woman held hostage. What Navy SEALs are Navy SEALs men? Oh yeah, absolutely. They're men. Or how about the Navy SEAL who, where did I go? They rescued 3 kids from drowning, receives the Medal of Honor. Yeah, this wasn't his kids either. That mom probably was grateful that this toxic masculine guy was able to go out there and save her kids from drowning.
Damn right she was.
You know, and like, this is a funny little thing. Like some woman put this together. Her name Elena. It's like 53 reasons why like women always need men. You know, some of it's really silly. I like this one. Number 9 says they forgive us for our feminism, even though we don't forgive them from nothing. You know, it's like, you know, we will still like try to make things work and try to, you know, help them out. Another thing is like they want to change our lives for the better.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they will spend money on their last money on a chocolates for us. I mean, it's funny shit like that. You know, it's just like there's always a reason for men. Our beautiful lingerie and expressive perfume are not important to them. You know, like little things. You know, it's like we men are always going to be needed in every type of natural disaster, every type of, you know, scenario where there's some catastrophe and someone needs to take authority and take, you know, charge and to stop the problem. It's not women.
It's not women. What?
It's not women. And you know what? I'm sorry, ladies. Look, every time there's a natural disaster, you ladies are not the ones rushing into a burning fire when the house is on fire.
But Glenn, I see it on the movies all the time. These 110-pound women kicking the crap out of these 240-pound Green Berets and these CIs. That isn't true, Glenn. That's not true.
Let me tell you something. I work in that industry, okay, and that's called make believe.
Oh,
all right,
come on.
And what they want to do is they want to make believe so much that it becomes reality. It's like almost like if I think it becomes.
I thought those were documentaries. They're not documentaries.
No, the docu-falsimentees. You know.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If they want to play in that arena, Glenn, you'll know this too. There's something called the Bechtel score, which they all agree to fall under, which is a set of guidelines that originated here in California as to be diverse, inclusive, and have equity in it. And they want to get distributed. They have to come within a certain score.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it's funny. It's like, like I said, I was in this podcast or live stream last night where they're talking about like all, like, you know, why women don't need men. And I'm like, you guys really think like, I mean, they're so delusional in their thought process, thinking that like men are basically, as a Roller likes to use the word, superfluous.
Yep. Glenn, I want to give Paul a moment to comment and to plug his stuff, and then let's get back to this because I really want to talk about the men's instinct, and let's talk about those British special divers that went all the way to Thailand a few years ago to rescue children. They flew there on their own dime. We'll talk about that. But yeah, Paul.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I gotta run. But follow me on YouTube or, on any major podcast platform. The show's called Come On Man Podcast, like Come On Man. Monday's episode is with a guy who went through an ordeal where his now ex-girlfriend falsely accused him of domestic violence and had him locked up in jail. So it's a crazy story. You guys will love it. And also check out my Chick Crack Free Practical Law of Attraction course. If you click on my link, if you go to comeonmanpod.com, you can find a link to it. There's a coupon code when you go to the page. There's only like 13 uses left on that. So if you've been thinking about doing it, check it out. Use that coupon before it runs out. Other than that, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You bet, Paul. Thank you. We'll have you on anytime, man. You're welcome guest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Skull. Okay, let's get back to it. Glenn, we were talking when we were going through that list. You and I were talking, and we'd run across that amazing story. I guess they made a movie.
I got it. I have it right here.
Yeah, bring it up. Let's talk about it. This is why. I mean, we're making light of it, saying when the shit hits the fan, women don't need an emotional man. If these guys were emotional guys, they'd jump up and down, they'd hold their hands like this, right? And exactly like she's doing right there, right? You see me? And they'd cry and be upset about it, but they didn't. And this is where men really shine. They take action. I mean, if you realize this story is pretty amazing. Ron Howard made a movie about it. And these poor boys got stranded inside this deep cave system during the monsoon. A very, very dangerous and difficult place. They lived for a long time without anybody coming to their rescue because they were trapped under, I think, several kilometers of water. And it was so dangerous that one of the Thai Navy SEALs died in the current. And one of the medics actually died after the rescue from being scraped and cut and getting sepsis in his blood after it. So this wasn't totally a happy story, but these men were willing to take that risk. They jumped right into that dark, cold water to do it.
And Elon Musk slandered the main diver. He said, "Oh, this pedo diver from England."
Yeah, tell us.
Oh yeah, Elon Musk actually went after because he wanted to promote one of his product, and he slandered the head diver.
Really?
What? Yeah. He said, "Oh, this pedo diver, whatever that was." And the guy turned around and sued Elon Musk. At which point, okay, let's settle out of court. I'll take care of your travel fare and everything.
So he slipped the clutch on his brain to his mouth a bit.
He does that occasionally.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm reading this, right? And it's like, not only did these guys like save these kids in Thailand, but they have a history of it. In 2004, one of them, saved 6 Brits trapped in a cave in Mexico. It's like, these guys, risk their lives to save these kids. Not women, not even the mothers of these kids went down there to try to risk their lives to save these kids. No, but men that had no relation, no affiliation to these children, saw the value of their life and decided to risk their own life to save kids that are not even theirs. It's like, it's crazy. These guys were great. These are heroes, but we don't, again, have you guys ever heard a story where a woman saved a man, from a burning building or from a shootout? She jumped in front of a gunman to take a bullet for a man.
I was wondering where the women's equivalent of this was. There isn't any that I know of.
I've never seen it or heard it. Movies don't count, exactly.
Right.
There could be. It's just rare enough that it's not made known for sure.
Well, I'm sure if it happened these days, it would be plastered all over the place.
Yeah, from history, there's probably something, but
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean,
It says right here at the bottom, right here, it says Sunan Kunin, 38, ran out of oxygen on a 6-hour journey back through the cave after delivering vital supplies. So, I mean, they died. One of them died
man.
just to try to get supplies to them.
That was just one trying to do it because it was such a long swim, ran out of gas, and they were on the edge of that all the time. What discipline that it took to do that. And unfortunately, the other one died from blood sepsis from obviously getting cut and hurt in the dirty water.
Yeah. I'll get rid of this now.
So this is really, these guys, they're not that unique when it comes to that instinct, is what I'm saying. And I want to get your guys' comments on that, because I've seen men do things like this, many, many times. I've witnessed it on the freeways of Southern California. I've been involved in it myself. And anybody have any additional thoughts on this? And I'll get to the super chats. And guys, you can super chat. Danny, I'm going to get to yours in a minute. If you guys want to chime in on this, now is the time for the next half hour. Questions, answers. We're going to talk about why women need men. And it's more important today, I think, that they need men than ever before because of the social conditioning that they have gone under, and this internet thing bringing out the psychopathy and mentality of, being alone for them. They're not built to be alone. Yeah, Laurent, you're up.
Actually, I have a funny story. It dates back to September 1992. So I remember this to this day, like if it was yesterday. I actually remember I was in a Tour, which is a wine region in France. This is where I went to business school. And I remember I was staying in a hotel waiting for to get a room, and then there was this lady who was getting in the wine business. She was a New York lawyer, and she was pretty, and she was very intelligent, very bright. And at some point, I wanted to carry a suitcase. And she said, no, I don't need you to do that. And me as a Frenchman, for me, it's hardwired in me, it's French chivalry. You see a woman carrying a heavy load, you go out, you take it, you carry it. No questions asked. You don't expect a thank you. This is what we do. And then she said, no, I don't need you to do that. And to this day, I still remember I was offended. That I was shocked and offended that actually, why? It's obviously too heavy for you. And I'm obviously a man. I obviously want to take care of you. I don't want to get into your pants. I don't expect even a thank you. It's just what I'm hardwired to do from a young age. And it was my first taste of I don't need a man. And to this day, I remember this anecdote that tells you something like 1992. That's literally what? 30 years ago. And I still remember it to this day. Yeah. It was the first taste of me from a Frenchman, where it's ladies first and all these. To this day, it was a taste of modern American independent women. It shocked me.
Yep, and it's happening. There is some things happening with it today. Is that a lot of men are being conditioned to stand by when someone's in trouble, man or woman, not to do anything. That is becoming a problem. I think when I talked about honor, courage, bravery, and sacrifice that defines masculinity, some of that is when you're seeing a problem. Man, I don't have it at hand. Maybe Randall can get it up because it would be so inspiring. Do you guys remember the subway Viking out here in L.A.? Anybody remember that guy?
No, I don't know.
There's a crazy homeless drug addict that was threatening everybody. And if you can look up that, Randall, there was this he was kind of, I think they call him, he looked like a Viking. He had the blue eyes. This was years ago. And somebody recorded it. And it was this crazy, wild, drugged up guy kind of threatening everybody walking up and down the aisle in the subway or the bus or whatever. And this thing went viral because he just stood up, got behind the guy, and used a jiu-jitsu technique called rear naked choke and made him go to sleep. And then he got up, and while the guy was too, he laid him gently on the ground, and everybody was scared on the train, and he put his foot right on the guy's chest and neck and said, just stay there, because he started to come to again. He said, nope, you're just staying there. That was an amazing video. I wish I had a copy of it, and I'm describing it.
I've got it.
You've got it. Good. Let's just play that. And then I'm going to talk about Danny Arnold's chat, and I'm going to look for all of the questions in the chat. Guys, give us a super chat and get involved. This is what this portion of the show is about. So yeah, Randall, if you got it and you want to bring it up.
Yeah, let me.
That would be fantastic. Guys, this is a good one. This might actually get us demonetized because it might be considered violence, but this is actually probably the least violent thing to do that is extremely honorable. The guy had a lot of courage, demonstrated some bravery here, but there was nobody coming. Where they're at, there was nobody coming. And this was escalating quickly. So it's possible we'll get a hit for this, but I think it's valuable in instructing men on how to be men. So I'm willing to take that chance. And if so, we'll have to edit it out of it later. But when we get to it, we'll get to it. I'll go ahead and give Danny his super chat. Danny, you're such a good supporter. My long lost Viking brother. You deserve the war horn. Man, I love toxic masculinity. I like masculinity. It's so toxic. It makes feminists and liberals cry. Look at this. Danny Arnold. I hope you still have your Mjolnir. Excellent. Thank you for the super chat, Danny. Ask away any questions. We'll put you up there. Okay. We ready?
All right. Yeah. Let me get back over to it, and hopefully it will be playing correctly.
Not hearing any sound.
You said you can't hear any sound?
Yeah.
All right. It's my first time.
You might have to scroll.
sharing.
That's not the correct one, is it?
I believe it's. Well, this is a longer one. I think it's got
it
to
gets
build
to it,
up to it. Let's see. I can scroll along to where he's actually fighting.
Oh, this is a different one.
I guess that is not the one that it was. It
No.
showed me
It's
the
a
whole
blonde
extended
guy.
on the chest.
Yeah. And no worries. There's a
Alright.
blonde guy where he puts his foot and he just says, "Stay calm till we stop." That one's a good one, though. I hope we can find it. If not, let's get some comments from the guys, Randall, while you're looking. It's out there somewhere. Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but it just came to my mind. If anybody saw it and you wanted to comment on it, that's cool. Let's get some other commentary going here.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think of the reason why a lot of men don't get involved anymore. I mean, three things. I mean, thing number one is we live in such a litigious society. You have good intentions, but you can wind up with a charge, getting involved in other people's problems, man. Number two, white knighting. How many guys have we seen on the internet as of these things being, whipped out and filming where guys have stepped in between a man and a woman, and the guy that's trying to render aid or offer assistance to the female get killed or severely injured.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, I would say that most men don't get involved in these situations anymore for the simple fact is we're all too dang busy, man. It's not my problem. I got my own problems to deal with.
Yeah.
I think those three things right there have a big, big effect on why you don't see people rendering aid anymore. It's almost to the point now to where, I mean, you do something good for somebody and it comes back around and bites you in the tail. I mean, it's just not even worth it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. In Texas, we have, it's basically an open combat thing. In Texas, where I live, if both parties agree, you can duke it out right there in the street and nobody will go to jail.
I think that's great, but you can't do it here.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. And it's called mutual combat.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that, if both parties agree and the police show up, no matter how bad you whoop the other individual, you won't go to jail as long as it's been stated as mutual combat,
as it should be.
And so once again, Texas is stand your ground. I mean, we can blow you out of your Nikes if you come on the property and I feel threatened, and so I think with the litigiousness of our society, and the perpetuation of, legal ramifications or death, it's just not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, man. To stay out of other people's business is a better look for most people. So And that's our own faults as a society, right? Because let's face it, I've done wrong. You've wronged me, even though you were trying to help me. I mean, how many people have you heard in the past that have tried to resuscitate someone and end up going through a legal process because they tried to render aid? It is just not even worth it. So it's better to maintain your own tribe's safety. And, once again, I'm going to quote John Fitch, the best street fight or the best altercation is the one you walk away from and just back down from and say, hey, man, it's my apologies. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just move away from it because it's just not worth it, Thor.
Well,
so I think I found the article on it.
Yeah, I found the Fox 11, but yeah, let's we can take a look at that. You need to make a judgment call, man. Can you live with yourself?
I agree, Phil. That's a great point Phil makes. I have a hard time with that sometimes because of the honor deal, and I know that you may say, well, that's stupid. You want to be alive, you want to be honorable. Sometimes I've stepped up when maybe it would have been wiser, as Phil said, to back down, but since I've been young, the humiliation of backing down and the consequences of backing down sometimes when I should have stood up for myself or for someone else, I had a hard time living with that. So, I mean, you can't tell unless you're in the situation what action or non-action to take. So sometimes what he says is the wise thing, and other times maybe you have to stand up. But like you said, Thor, it's you have to make that decision in the moment. And sometimes I feel like actually the decision is made within me before. Not that I take action without thinking, but it's just something inside a person. He has to make that decision at the time. Man, it's a shame that we live in a society where people are punished for trying to help someone, but it's almost like we live in some society that it's not your fault. If you got hurt, it's not your fault, even if someone was trying to help you. So there's money in it.
Everything's player versus player. That's a great intro to watching this next video that I had kind of prefaced earlier. This man made the decision. What would you do? I posed to the audience in an educational manner, fair use. Let's bring it up, Randall, and let's let the audience take a look at this news report. There was a drunk, and he was going berserk, maybe drunk, maybe drugs, very dangerous. And this young man going to work made a decision. That's the shirtless man. And as you can see, he's just kind of throwing down everybody. Going up and down on that train, huh? Seems to be kind of combative with everybody. You imagine being on that train? Obviously, he's really mad. And there comes the subway Viking on his way to work.
And we are not advocating violence here.
No. Not at all. But I wanted to take the effort, though, that, he does sit there and then he kind of rolls him over. You're missing that part, but he does. And then he just holds him there for the police. That's a train full of people. And he made that decision. He says, okay, no, I'm not going to hurt you anymore. Basically, just stay right there until we stop. And you can't hear it, but somebody pressed the buzzer. So that was pretty good. So we can get rid of that. But you'd have to make that choice on your own. But certainly, I didn't see too many women on there. But, men sometimes have to take action and step up. What do we got here? It looks like Foster assists. I've been instructed if anything goes down, I am together. Phil's personal belongings and walk away and wait for his call. That's pretty good advice to your darling. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the thing, right? Is there's a point of imminent no return. Yeah. If I look at her and I give her a certain look, and there's no other way away from the situation, then she knows precisely what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Is I think guys, they get themselves in situations that, obviously in that train and that what Randall just shared, I mean, there was no escaping that individual. And, that gentleman came along and just put his arm around his neck and put him to sleep.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, obviously he's trained. There's 99% of the society is not trained.
No.
And,
True.
And so somebody that doesn't understand how to do something like that, could have ended up crushing his windpipe and killing him.
He could.
And then there you go to jail for manslaughter. So, you're 100% right. You got to make a judgment call there. And if there is no return, and then you just need to bring the maximum force necessary to protect yourself in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's definitely, there's a lot of risk with that for sure. But then, men will want to step up and be the protector as well. And thank God. I mean, obviously there wasn't a police officer on there. I think they do have subway police now, but they can't be everywhere every time. And really to, make things safe is that the average man needs to, be capable of at least, stepping in if it absolutely becomes necessary. You hear stories about that with the shooters, and all that stuff. Men will shield women with their bodies and all of that. And that's a good way to point out the needs. Let's do our super chats here. And we did Danny and then Glenn. What the heck? Are you going to have to get the horn too, huh? Come on, man.
I just wanted my own sound effect. Okay. Sorry.
Got to get the war horn again. All right. So ask your question and let's have the panel answer. It's a good question, really.
Should men prove that women need them, or should men just let women think they don't need them and let them come to that conclusion on their own?
I think they're only going to believe it or realize it when they come to it on their own. I don't think we can prove anything to them.
Yeah, and that's the thing with convictions, right? Once a belief turns into conviction, it's basically faith. And there's very few ways to turn a conviction around. That's what makes religion so powerful. And ideologies is that it turns the basic tenets into beliefs, then the beliefs are reinforced with conditioning to become convictions. And then it's on autopilot after that. And if they did a good job in conditioning, they only look for confirmation bias to reinforce that conviction.
But why would you want to be a man walking around trying to prove something to women? I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to. That's not a good way to go.
That's the $1 million question right there, Raith. Nice.
Yeah, it actually accomplishes the opposite, doesn't it? If you're trying to prove it to him, it actually proves that you're not proving what you wanted to prove.
This is actually a big dilemma, though. Think about the sexlessness rate for men under 30. They're going to choose that path. They're going to want to try to prove it.
Well, there's the saying, a fool convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So no matter how much a man tries to convince a woman they need them, until it is literal reality is smacking them in their face, they're not going to be convinced. It does not matter. It's going to take a real life scenario to check a woman, and that man cannot provide that real life scenario. It just has to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pitney Jules in the comments. He says,
I'll put him up in just a second here, Phil. I want to get Laurent. Laurent's been raising his hand, and I will put that one up because that's super good.
Let's start with the comment. Let's start with the comment.
All right.
Yeah.
Pitney Jules, thank you so much, by the way. By the time women come to that realization, it's usually too late. And this is where I wanted to go with that before I hit Laurent. And Phil picked up on it. I know he's going to go here. The spinster generation is going to be up front and center really quickly here in the next 10 years. Definitely. They're going to be visible on social media and everything. And when younger gals actually see this, this is probably the time where the realization will come in, and there is an outstanding chance that they will not want to live that path and not do that. There's plenty of them that will when they see the outcomes. Go ahead, Phil.
No, I thought Laurent was up. Laurent was up. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Laurent. Yep.
Oh, sorry. About the idea of rescuing people before they realize they have a problem or believing the conviction. It made me think of an interesting anecdote. Does society need more bankers, or do they need more garbage collectors? And there was a very interesting thing. So there was in 1973, there was an island, a strike by bankers, thinking we are very useful to society. Fast forward, the strike lasted 6 months, nothing happened. No, in the 80s, and I was there when it happened. In the 80s, there was a garbage collection strike in Australia, and you could literally see garbage piling up in the streets with rats and so on and so forth. And you know what? Like, oh yeah, we don't need garbage collection. Let's not forget that 98% of garbage collection is done by men. And then try and live in a society, try and live in a city where garbage is not collected. Very, very, very quickly. The strike lasted 2 weeks. Done. Problem solved. So, don't try to solve problems like we've been to kind of trying to solve problems before people even realize that we are necessary. And when you let people fail, it's like children. You let them fail and then they learn. Rescuing them all the time doing the helicopter parent doesn't work. It never did, never will. Let them fail. Let them learn. Does it make any sense?
Give them enough rope.
And isn't that kind of what we've been doing by allowing them to, or allowing, maybe they wouldn't like that, by making laws to protect them when they make mistakes and they're not really, actually we're passing laws and looking for legislation to allow them to be less accountable. They want the rights of men, but they don't want the accountability that comes along with it, is what I see.
Mark, you just said something. All right. I recommend everybody go look at my most recent video. Is why I cannot support the feminist narrative. And I lay that out. I lay out that women are only wanting equality in things that benefit them, but they're not fighting for equality in the things that don't benefit them. Like all the things that are they experience inequality in, like the law, like courts and family law, they ain't fighting for that. They ain't asking for more jail time for the same crime that men commit. No. Like they're not mad that they get custody of their kids. Like they're not fighting for equal custody. Like they so I'm like, no, I can't support that. So you're right on the money on that one.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
But my thing is no, I think men should not try to prove their value to women, or prove that they're needed, but at the same time, like when women come to that, realization that they need them in order to, I don't know. It's like, look, I know you need me. So if you need me, then you need to live under the constructs of, these things that there has to be some parameters and guidelines. They can't just come over to your house like you're the neighbor. Like, hey, can you change the light bulb for me for free? Like, what? No, I'm not changing your light bulb for you. I ain't be your trash man for you. I'm not going to go out of the way and do all these things for you for nothing just because you asked. Like if you want the benefits of having men in your life, then you have to fall underneath, some sort of, realization that there's things expected of you to have the benefits of having men in your life.
Well, I think it goes back to kind of what Laurent said about him opening or wanting to carry the bag for the woman. Men have done that for years. I mean, I've opened doors for women for years and always said thank you and please. And I quit doing that a year or two ago because, not completely, but if women want to be like men, then why should I stand there, hold the door and wait for them when they're 10 steps out? But that's something I was taught to do that was really hard for me to stop. But I actually just quit doing it. Now, unless it's an older woman in her 60s or something, because they appreciate it. But most of the young women, they expect all the things that the chivalry, if we say it, that men have done for years. But then again, they want the rights and they want to be treated as a man. I'm not going to stand there in the cold and open the door for Glenn if I don't know him and he's 10 steps away from the door, because he's a man. He can open the door himself. But I would do it for an older woman because I know they still appreciate that. But the younger generation, they are more likely to look down on you as a supplicator, as someone seeking approval if you do things like that. When the reality is you're just doing it because, or at least I am, because I was taught that from a young age to be courteous and kind. But it seems to be taken with this younger generation as a weakness and almost like they despise or almost disrespect you for it.
Yeah. Or it's like submission.
Yeah, like you're seeking their approval. And that's not it at all. It's just something that's like Laurent said. I was taught that from a young age.
Yeah. Service is not submission.
Yeah.
So I think like one thing that I tend to do, it's following actually a lesson Thor taught me, is don't inconvenience yourself. So it's like if you're going out the door, holding it for 1 or 2 more seconds as you're walking, just stretch your arm out, hold it. All right, they can go and they can figure it themselves out. But if they're walking across the parking lot, don't just stand there. Keep going about your life. They can open a door. It's not that difficult. If they have their hands full and you feel like being nice, do it. But it's like, just keep going on about your life. It's like, don't inconvenience yourself for others.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. That's a way to have a strong masculine presence for sure. You know, and then when the opportunity does present itself, like you just said, it's there, you're there. Extremely, smile, be pleasant, be that guy. Don't be the other guy.
Yeah, I was at Walmart the other night, and it was late, and a lady was getting some dog food, big bag, older woman, and it was cold outside, and nobody could take it out for her. So I went in and walked her over to the other side of the parking lot, and it was an inconvenience for me, but I wanted to do it as an act of service. And whether, she appreciated it, and it was cold, and I went in and did it. Now, I felt good about it. I did that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I've done a lot of things like that. I do actually, that's that useful chimp thing again. And that's actually fulfilling for guys to do. It's not submissive. It's actually protecting the tribe. I like that. That's not a bad thing to do. Let's bring this up here. Foster says, a lot of this "I don't need a man" comes from young girls listening to their bitter divorced moms while growing up. This definitely is a factor. If you have never done so, young men, go to the public courthouse and spend one day in family court watching. The amount, you'll be quite shocked at what goes on there. Not just that it leans a certain direction that is non-beneficial to any man, but I've heard this story dozens and dozens of times, as it seems as most power linemen have starter wives, is that there's a lot of shit talking going on once custody has been given to the mothers for most of the time and the divorce is settled. The guy that she loved and procreated with is now the worst possible human on the planet, and you shouldn't listen to him. This is not uncommon.
Yeah. And they don't need a man, but yet they're taking child support and some of them alimony too. And they say, well, that's just for the kids. But I know because I've been through it.
That's why not in the state.
It's not the same as what they want. It depends on your income. It's not what it takes to raise that child. It's what your income is. That's what it's based on, at least here in my state.
Well, the reason why they say they don't need a man, because they can get the government to take the money from you.
Well, they have the man, yeah.
Exactly. Like you always going to need a man. You're always going to need you're always going to need someone to enforce something for you on the benefit for you. Whether it's somebody in your house or whether it's a government official or the government laws that are created by men, you are still going to need the men. That's why, like, when it goes back to that scripture again, in Genesis, you will always try to get the control, but guess what? They will still rule over you. It's like you will always defer to them, and at the end of the day, it's like a child. How kids like throw a tantrum in the store for that chocolate bar they just can't get, and you told them no, and they can throw the biggest fit, but at the end of the day, their ass is getting in that car, and they're gonna go home with you, and they're probably gonna get a whooping, okay? Or they should get a whooping, So they can throw that tantrum all they want, but when push comes to shove, when it really comes down to brass tacks, it's like you need us more than you think you don't.
Well, that's an important point. I want to reinforce that, because divorce is encouraged if a woman's unhappy. It's just straight up for any reason whatsoever with no fault. And what we rely on here in the West is we're promoting, you don't need a man. We have this system that will makes things equitable, and that equity actually isn't equal. But what happens is they actually do need men. They need the men that wear the guns to enforce these things through the force of deadly force and seizure of assets. If you don't pay your child support, they will seize your house. They will put you in jail. They'll put you in a private prison to build microwaves, for which they profit from here in California. And they do. I'm not making anything up. That's just what they do. You go to somewhere like Japan, there is no custody. I mean, it's different. I mean, Laurent can tell you their divorce laws are quite different. I don't think they have alimony at all, do they?
You heard that from MLD, right?
I heard it in one of his webinars. Is that true? That's what I'm asking.
Actually, it's not true.
Okay.
I know a guy who was there's a single parent custody here, and on the other hand, what is true is that the child support here is fairly low. It's a set number, and it's not proportional to the income. But there are alimonies. Like I know somebody who pays regular alimony to his wife, and there's something called chote, which is arbitration, where you can decide upon this.
So that's like community property, and then like the child support is just actually a fixed value.
Correct.
What's it based on?
I don't know, but there's a set number. It's Rokumain. It's 60,000 yen, which is about $400 per child, something like this.
And it must be set on something, custody or something.
It's not proportional to the income. I don't think it is.
Well, that's good. At least that's a start, isn't it? I know in certain countries there isn't such a thing as child support. There's 50-50 custody, and it's just the way it rolls down. I believe Iceland to be like that.
Go ahead.
I have in Japan there's a real problem of parental alienation. Like there's a single parent custody, and in 90+% of the cases is by default the mother. And there's a whole industry behind it. There's a whole lawyer industry because it takes 10% off to the top and so on and so forth.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So we can talk about it at length because I volunteer in an organization like this. And to me, my take on this is like, let's look at the child, because what happens is very often parent takes away the child and moves out, and then the default custody is granted to the parent who has custody of the child.
Well, that happens here in California. There's an entire industry that is strongly encourages this and is built into it. There's court appointed counseling, all that stuff, and it comes right off the top of everybody. Everything they built together comes off the top of things like that. And it's all, of course, for the benefit of the child, right?
Oh, of course.
But at the end of the day,
they appoint an attorney to represent the child.
Yeah, GAL is what it's called. Here.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, the children get hurt in this process because it's systematically at the bottom of the academic achievement, and and it perpetuates a cycle from generation to the next generation. And actually, it's in the Bible. This one is for Glenn. I mean, I think this is the Judgment of Solomon or something like this, where they bring a baby and their two mothers, and let's split the baby into, and then Solomon says, okay. One mother says, no, keep the baby. And the other one, okay, let's split it into, all right, the baby is awarded to the mothers. Let it go for the child.
Yeah, that was how the king decided who the real mom was.
Exactly. It's what's crazy with like our divorce laws and stuff and parental alienation. They make it so difficult now to try to prove parental alienation. Parental alienation is a horrible thing, and it is a form of child abuse. Okay, they don't realize the type of abuse that does to a child when they think that their father doesn't love them, that their father, is this horrible person, that you don't want to be anything like your father. It's like they end up teaching this person to hate the fact that they exist because they are, a procreation. They are procreated from this man who their mother hates, who their mother thinks is a monster. Then they wonder, like, oh my gosh, does my mom think I'm part monster because I'm, was born by him? It's like they don't understand the abuse that this does to a child, and you wonder why so many men are, these kids that go through this have a hard time with dealing with either the opposite sex or pair bonding or just interacting with people, because they think so low of themselves already because of what they were told about, who they came from and who their parents were. It's just like the damages. I'm sure Raith has probably dealt with many issues of guys, going through parental alienation as a kid and then trying to, figure out shit now after they realize that they've been lied to their whole life.
Well, even if, how do I say this? Even if they haven't been lied to, say the father isn't the greatest guy in the world. All right. they still have to come to terms with the fact that, first off, it's still their father. And what I try to get them to do is come to terms with the fact that they weren't there living that situation that man was living in. And they have to start, at least being able to empathize with that, because if she treated the father a certain way, she probably treats the son the same way. All right. And, I know fathers that have walked away, and I'm constantly telling guys, hey, you need to reconnect with them and get his side of the story. Not because I want them to develop these long-term relationships with their fathers, but I want them to have balance in their understanding of the relationship between the parents. Because once they understand and they have a balanced opinion of that, then they can start, if nothing else, forgiving themselves for what their mothers put off on them about, you're just like your father and those kind of things. So it's really about that, and I wish that, every guy I talked to, he had a mother and father that cared about him and that had a good relationship, and that they were adults when it come to an end. They said, hey, we're going to be great parents to you. We just can't live together. But that's not the case. 90% of it is there's so much anger and hurt on either side, on both sides, that it destroys any understanding that child's ever going to have of what a good relationship is, until that child matures enough to start figuring out that what his mother said wasn't true. He doesn't know what his father said, or vice versa, whoever's parenting him, and that there is a way to have balance in relationships. And that's the biggest thing we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's move to the wrap-up section. I don't really see any super chats right now, and we're just about done for time for today. So let's wrap this thing up on When Shit Hits a Fan, Women Need a Man. Everybody was a great contributor. I know, Laura. It's a funny thing. But, men are more than competent to oblige when shit hits the fan. We'll step up to it. That's what we do. That's who we are. Guys, let's start with some roundtable, where we can find you, where you're at, what's going on, and what's coming up. Ready to go? Let's start with Phil Foster.
What's going on, guys? You can find me at philfosterfitness.com. I got your training, hormones, and supplementation squared away over there. You can find me at philfoster_. I've been working all week long in my new studio. My studio space is coming together. It's been completely shredded to get it done. We got all the soundproofing done. So we got 3 different sets we're putting together inside the actual studio itself, and starting to calibrate it up. So we're going to start dropping some great content over on the Growthcast, and of course here on the DragonShip channel. And Glenn and myself, Glenn Laurence presents, editor-in-chief of the DragonShip. We're going to start putting some content together as well for you guys. So stay tuned to that going into the 2023 year with a lot of momentum. And with that, you guys have a great weekend. Thanks so much for participating in the chat. The super chats, super awesome. We appreciate that gift. That actually helps the DragonShip channel grow. And we couldn't get there without you guys in the chat and supporting us and interacting as well. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend. And thank you so much, Thor, for having me on.
Always, man. Thank you so much. Raith Deantior.
Raith Deantior, Raith_Deantior, I guess. Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Yahoo. And I also work with a men's group. I'm working with MLD's men's group. I'm actually teaching this next week twice. I have two classes I'm teaching in there for the webinar. And if you want to get a hold of me and want to talk, you can contact me in any of those places. It's always Raith_Deantior on social media.
Thank you, Raith. Laurent, we'd love to read that book, but you have yourself mirrored, so we have to read it backwards. Tell us where we can find you. You're muted right now. Unmute and tell us what's going on. You're still muted, brother.
So I don't have anything to say related to the topic today, but this is what I published. I also published a course on short selling, so I trade the market. This is my book. The foreword was written by this New York Times bestseller, Michael Covell, and I don't have any social media presence you can find me on LinkedIn.
Not yet. We're going to be working on putting something together for you that's a little more oriented in your wheelhouse, shall we say, on the DragonShip. Thank you, Laurent.
Yeah, get ready for Laurent's financial breakdown.
and as a final conclusion, we men and women are better together, and we men are hardwired to serve. I believe we feel good when we do.
We do. Excellent. Thank you, Glenn Laurence. Man, you got a lot of irons in the fire, brother.
Yeah.
Resident editor-in-chief, master at arms, and soon to have a new show on the DragonShip, which is the Trident, coming soon.
Yeah, you guys. So stay tuned. I got a couple projects in the works here. We got the Trident, which is a 3-man show that has myself, Thor, and Phil Foster. We're going to be doing that. That's going to be releasing soon. Stay tuned to that. The clips will be dropping soon. Also, I do my own one-off shows and kind of just hit on some topics and attack all the people that are, not using facts and talking shit. So watch out for those.
You're the corrector.
The corrector, yes. I'm bringing the correction down, laying the hammer down. Also, get ready because I will be dropping a reaction video to the video that Laurent put in our chat. Thank you, Laurent, for making me watch that horrible male feminist versus anti-feminist thing on Jubilee. That's going to be coming out soon. Stay tuned to that. But also, for those that are podcasting, and I'm sorry, I'm going to throw this plug out there, but for you that are podcasting and you're finding it difficult to produce everything yourself, manage your clips, manage your your show, just the flow is kind of difficult. You kind of find some dead air and some time. You just struggle, right? Well, for you guys, I have offered for you. I offer a virtual producer job where I am your virtual producer behind the scenes that nobody sees me, and I could do everything that you need done in a timely, quick manner at less of a hassle for you for a really good price. So if you are interested in having a virtual producer for your show, if you are a one-man show and you want a virtual producer, hit me up. I got something special for you.
Well, that sounds really good. Where can we find you? Because having a producer lets the creative focus on their content, Glenn. So where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find me at on Instagram at Glenn_Laurence_presents, or Facebook, Glenn Laurence, or you're here on YouTube. Just type in Glenn Laurence. I'm the only one besides one other imposter that pops up. So hit me up.
Excellent. Randall, our behind-the-scenes producer as well, and editor, and panel member. Skull.
You can find me here on the DragonShip. I'm also a member of Modern Life Dating's MEN community, and I'll be appearing on Phil Foster's channel soon. I'll be seeing you later this month, Phil. Other than that, that's all you can find me on.
Are you willing to throw out your IG presence and all that right now?
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I'm Talon the Titan on Instagram. Don't post too much, but go ahead and give me a follow, and I'll follow you back.
Sounds good. Thank you, Randall. We appreciate you being here as always. Thanks for finding that video too, by the way.
Yeah, no problem.
And don't worry if it gets us demonetized. I'll take care of it. As long as it doesn't get us too banned. Mark Daniels, Mark's Inspiration.
Yeah, tonight in the podcast at 6:00 Central Standard Time, we have Affy Kingdom. We're going to talk about his books, and of course, he's a master of game. We'll be discussing that, Master of Seduction. You can find me on Instagram at Mark's Inspiration. I do consultations. You can contact me through my email, which is in the description of all my videos. or on my website at marksinspiration.com. And we're stepping it up. We're putting out 2 videos a day, plus the podcast on the weekend. So a little more information for my subscribers. And that's about it for today. Glad to be here. It's a great show. One more comment. I was thinking when you were talking about the divorce system and that the women of the West, we live in a system that was created by men. It's managed and maintained by men and enforced by men. So if it wasn't for men, they wouldn't be able to have the delusion, let's say, that they don't need men.
That is so true, Mark. What a way to go out. That's perfect. And that sums it right up. It's really our responsibility if we want our lives to be different. And of course, we're just sitting here chopping it up as a bunch of guys and inviting folks on and having fun with this whole thing. And that's really what it's all about, is to stimulate some thought. And through that thought, we can create actions in our own life to kind of elevate our position in life and reach some fulfillment. That's why here on the DragonShip, we always say a rising tide lifts all ships. And we want to become that rising tide. So guys, I am RP Thor, and you can find me, of course, on becomedurable.com. You can find any of my products there, which are lecture products. I also run the Dragons membership, which is a kind of a men's forum that is a video meeting once a month. And we have presenters, and we have educators, mentors, and we have a whole host of red pill content creators that come on there and support a couple dozen men right now. We are growing that membership rapidly, and it's quite a benefit to have a place where you can exercise your thoughts and your ideals and formulate your own dominant masculine presence that you can use out in the real world. So with that, guys, you can find me also on Rule Zero here and on Dude Party. It's RP Thor on all the major platforms. Guys, I'm going to take us out with a couple of commercials, and we do this because this is how we support the show. Please take a look at these and support the show with super chats and buy these products. It goes a long way towards keeping this content free and open.
Again, all commercials produced by the one and only
Glenn Laurence. Thanks.
Produced and edited by Glenn Laurence Presents LLC Limited Liability Corporation. Beautiful work though. Every week, man.
Trademark.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, man.
We're gonna have to get that audio done right. We're gonna get that done today.
Yeah.
Okay, let me close it out. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll see you after. Skull.
If you haven't already, join Thor's The Dragons membership. It's a men's monthly interactive meeting in cyberspace. This is a masculine place for men that is censorship free, to help you increase your performance, converse as well as leverage ideas, and get coaching consultations on how to handle life's issues in a modern world. This is a unique place. This is a discreet place, and it's a place for men. So what are you waiting for? Join the Dragons membership today.
Okay.
If you're looking to level up your physique and you need some help, make sure you go to philfosterfitness.com. philfosterfitness.com is your one-stop shop for all your workout and supplement needs. Get your high-quality protein packed with all the essential ingredients that you need to support muscle recovery and muscle growth. And if you haven't reached your goals on your current workout plan, go to Phil Foster Fitness today to book you a one-on-one consult. When you book your one-on-one consult at philfosterfitness.com, you get a customized workout plan and meal plan designed specifically for you. Look, you're an individual, so that cookie-cutter workout plan that you found off the internet is only going to get you so far. So if you really want to reach your goals, you need to get yourself a customized workout plan that's designed specifically for you. If you're really serious about reaching your fitness goals, why wait? Go to philfosterfitness.com and book your consult today.
Make sure you get your own copy of Thor's Dominant Masculine Presence Lecture. This is an hour-long lecture that teaches extremely valuable yet simple techniques that will help you to improve your dominant masculine presence. You will learn how easy it is to begin building the foundation for your masculine presence and make yourself into a dominant masculine man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to go after it. So what are you waiting for? Buy now and start your journey and start building that dominant masculine presence and become the man that you always wanted to be.